Hi, I'm Brian Bowden. I'm at 41 Walsingham in Mendham. Just a couple of quick thoughts, some top-line things. Number one, I think that we're in a better position on this site, strangely enough, than some other acquisitions. There was a attempt several years ago to purchase another mansion and move all the municipal services into it. And it was highly recommended as it would give you a very unique showcase site, and it would actually save money because you'd be selling all the other properties where the services were currently located. And unfortunately, due to a variety of reasons and so forth, and, people having their opinions and so forth, that was lost. So we're still looking where we can site various municipal functions. It's continuing today. We're in a better position now because we own Pitney, and also we got it with not only our own money, but also a grant from the county and things like that. So it was a bargain, and other people corroborated that it was worth purchasing and worth saving. Having said that, it's going to take many years and a lot of money to really do anything with this site, as everybody, I think, understands. I think all the comments today, whether pro, con, good, bad, whatever, have been true, because it's going to take a lot of money and a lot of time, and you've got to bear by the hands. But in many ways, you're ahead because, number one, we own it. It was a bargain because the county contributed a big chunk of money to help us. Usually it doesn't happen when you buy things. Number two, unlike India Brook Park, which was acquired some years ago, the old Seeing Eye property, which was all open space money, and so had restrictions on it, we thought, great, we bought it because we had all the buildings on it, we can use the buildings. We can't really use most of them, they're falling into disrepair because there are restrictions on open space funded property. They've had the perspicacity at that time, back in 2010, to split this up. So the open space portion, I think, is fairly steady in terms of what you can do with it and what you can't do with it. There's some flexibility within that envelope, but I think most of the action is on the municipal side of things. And just a couple of quick statements. I was on the original transition plan in 2011, which, by the way, is already on the website in all its grandeur. I wish my handwriting had been better, but we've gone through a second study, which is also excellent and so forth. My focus is not so much on what we do with the property, because there's going to be tremendous comments, some of it oppositional, some of it diametrically opposed to one another, some of it variance and so forth. And there's so many possibilities and variations. They can talk about preserving this mansion, preserving only the original 1727-ish core of it. There's all kinds of options. It's going to take many years just to figure out what we're doing, and a lot of consensus, and especially from the neighbors who live here and have to live with it. My concern is that most of the recommendations from that 2011 committee were not really realized. There is a place to put some contributions, but there's not an aggressive fund drive. And we have examples in the form of the cider mill, the education foundation, and things like that got not only individual funds in small amounts, but corporate funding and grants and things like that. There's also the Sisters of St. John the Baptist that have made use of county funding. So there are a lot of opportunities out there that can be tapped to help do whatever we decide to do. My concern is that, number one, we need a preservation report, which was one of the original recommendations, and that we were budgeted and ready to do that. We had bids, and then it stopped. And now we have another report that's been done to say, here's some possibilities, but without a preservation report, you don't know, don't use this area, this is the jewel part, save it. This part, we could sell the land to make money and monetize it, or we could tear it down. You don't really know what you can and can't do or where you might do it, and you need the preservation report. And that was made clear back in 2011 to another group. That group had the perspicacity, I think, to recognize that this needed to be saved before it went, even though I didn't have time to figure out exactly all the possible uses, but they knew there'd be something. But obviously, it's become a money pit, and it's a problem. And I think you have some flexibility what you can do with the municipal part of the property to solve that. But meanwhile, in order to make any decisions, what should you invest maintenance in? What should you let go? You need the preservation report. There's also a controversy on county funding. We've talked about this in our transition committee. Should you go for historic registration of the site? And the people in favor of it say, hey, there's free money from the county, and fair quantity of money. Against that, it complicates things because they want to put their hands on what you're going to do, and it restricts what you can do and how you can do it and increases the cost of it. But to me, if it's truly a historic site, you should expect some restrictions that make it historic, and that's fine. But if I have a choice between scenario A, where I can do something for $100,000, but I have no money, I'm not going to do anything, or scenario B, where, you know what, the county is involved and they're going to help us out, but it's going to raise the cost to $150,000, but they're going to give us most or all of it so we can do something. To me, if you have no money, you're not in a position of choosing. You have to choose scenario 2. So I think there are some options like that. But I'm more concerned about preserving what we have now, preserving the asset that we've already invested in, and keeping the options open, so that whatever it is, whether it's a library, sell it, whatever it is, you have those options open. Because if you don't do that, you have a problem. So you need the preservation report, and you need to do the maintenance and so forth, but you have to know what to maintain. The last thing is that some years ago, many years ago, Washington's headquarters, the Ford Mansion in Morristown, as well as Jockey Hollow and a few other sites, were about to be sold for residential development. And there was a group, including Clyde Potts, who was a member of it, called the Washington Association, who stepped in, raised the money, lobbied, got money, talked with government, and saved it. Now we have Washington's headquarters, Jockey Hollow, and Fort Nonsense. That's the very first National Historic Park, Morristown National Historic Park. So things like that can be done, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, and I just think we need to do a couple things to preserve those options. And then it'll take years for a very messy process to balance out everybody's interest to figure out what's coming later, but we just got to preserve the options at this point in time. Thank you.